probing questions about their creative endeavors. It wasn't always like that, though. Before we get started and I bring out my next guests, I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of the history of Vampa's Lair. You see, millennia ago, this was not a talk show set like you see, but it was a dungeon where we tortured poor unfortunate souls. It was the only thing to do for in hell for fun back then. There was literally nothing else to do. It was boring, so, we'd get these souls coming into hell. They'd have nothing to do for eternity, neither did I. Soon enough, they were up on the wall, and I was just, being very creative with different types of pain that I could inflict, and it was a really good time in my life. I have a lot of really warm memories. It's where I first met Dead, actually. He was there at the beginning. You remember that, Dad?
I do remember that very fondly. I rather enjoyed all the times you would torture people. I could hear their screaming, and it was just music to my ears. And, as much as I enjoy the guests coming down every once in a while, I miss those. I miss the torturing, and I wish that sometimes we could just kill a few of them.
I think that sometimes too, Dad. But I think it'd be a little just maybe disrespectful for our guests because they do think that they're here to talk about their bands, their movies, their visual arts, and creatives are very sensitive. So
this is true. This is very true.
But maybe we could put out a call, and if you want to be tortured as part of, being a guest on Vampa, maybe we can figure something out. I don't know. Let me know. What would you think about that, Dad?
Well, you might attract the wrong type of people if you're putting that out there.
You got a good point, Dad. There might be a I really... Let me reiterate that I really only want people who have some sort of art to show. But if you don't bother. We're not gonna put you under any stress. And honestly, maybe let's not do that, Dad, because I feel like it's hard enough to get here with all the shit you gotta go through just to get down into this lair. We're on the 4th level. We're not all the way at the bottom, but I mean, to get through those top 3 is, it can be hell. So, that's maybe enough torture for them. And besides, the reason I stopped doing the torturing in the first place was because I had realized that there's a bunch of really cool stuff happening in Detroit and the surrounding suburbs. And, it kind of made me realize that I don't have to be so bored and disconnected down in hell, and we could bring those people down here. So, I don't know, I've kind of, even though we have a lot of good memories, and it is how we got hooked up, I like what we're doing now.
I like it too. And I just want to put this out there that if you're a creative from the Detroit area, drop Vampa a line. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and I won't do any torturing. Unless, Dad's into it, so if you want to,
we'd love to peel your skin off.
That sounds good. As you can see, that's
That's what I'm into.
I'd like to welcome my next guests to the lair, the Picassos. Greetings, gentlemen, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having us, of course.
Glad to be here.
Wonderful. We had this is a long time in the making. We were supposed to meet up last year, I think, at this point, and scheduling snafus happen. Trying to get down the passport to get to hell is kind of tough sometimes. It's been a little dicey. I hope you guys can get out at this point.
I think we might have missed a left earlier, but
Yeah. Yeah.
toasty.
Yeah, it is
I
pretty.
love what you've done with the place.
Thank you. Like I was, I had mentioned earlier in the show before you guys got here that this lair has quite a history, and it was used for many different things before we finally settled on inviting the lovely artists and musicians and filmmakers of Metro Detroit and the surrounding areas down here and talking about them.
I think I can still hear the screams.
Yeah, they if these walls could scream, you know, as they say, they stick around, and I like it. It makes me feel cozy. It makes it home.
You never feel alone?
Right, exactly. You get it. So you guys just put out a new album, right?
We sure did.
And the album's name, I love this name. It's called Divination Scars Among the Dead in Symmetry.
Indeed.
Now, that's very poetic.
We are drawing from some great poets, I think, a lot on this piece.
Yeah.
There's some Poe influence, no less, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But the name reflects at least two of the songs on the album itself. Well, some of it. Divination being a line in the last track of the record, Go Dark.
Oh, that song is epic.
Not even the title track, but the title resides in that track. So.
I mean, I usually find that closers on albums are usually the, like, definitive song on the album, so, or at least usually, like, the best song on the album. So I can see that that's cool how you, like, tied that in. Go Dark is really cool because it goes through, like, a big change, like, towards the middle, and gets atmospheric, and it's a really neat song. Before we go any further, will you guys, like, introduce yourselves and, like, what you do in the band?
Yes, I'm Charles. I sing and play guitar.
I'm Torin. I play drums and banjo and accordion.
I'm Dan. I play the bass.
Awesome. And you have one more member who is not here right now.
He's invisible right now. But
okay.
Joe, our keyboard player.
Yes, he's in the corporal form right now.
Somewhere.
Yeah, keyboard. Awesome. And that is something I love, that more modern bands are including keyboards and organs.
Yeah.
And that's like something that I think 10 years ago and even a little earlier, like, that was unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But it's making a comeback.
I think I used to mock bands that had keys all the time.
The what?
I used to mock bands that had keys.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, who needs a keyboardist?
Yeah.
And it really completes the sound. So I'm happy he's doing it for us.
Yeah, it's really cool. My favorite song on the album is Sixth Sense, and I love the, like, organ-y sounding, like, solo in there. It's so cool.
He ripped it.
Yeah, he really
it's
did.
An incredible job on that one.
Yeah, that is I would say my, like, Vampa's pick on the whole album is Sixth Sense. It's got the very, like, punk rock vibe, the fast one, I would say. Tell me about the album cover. It reminds me of, like, the first page in an antique book, like that, like, print, old type print.
Yeah, thank you for noticing. Yeah, that was a labor, a long-winded labor. I had kind of an initial idea of where I wanted to go with it because we draw a lot from, like I said, literature, authors, books. Mm-hmm. Specifically, the book series that I really wanted to kind of emulate in this iteration of the record. It's called The Enchanted World. It was, in fact, a Time Life book series that kind of dealt with, like, mysteries and legends and history, and some of it's very scary stuff. But there's a book on dragons and fairies and all sorts of occult and oddity sort of stuff. And in fact, it was peddled by Vincent Price, and you can actually find these commercials on the internet now of him trying to sell the series in, like, a subscription format back in late 80s, I think. So that really rung true for me as far as the imagery goes, because I really wanted to invoke that storybook aspect to it, and kind of an austere, almost I don't necessarily want to say, I guess a novel, I guess. Yeah.
That's a very cool vibe. I remember those books. I think the public library down in Hell had those back in my young demoness-hood. I would look at those. They also, were those the same ones that they would have the like unexplained things too, about like UFOs and things? Okay.
There's a sister series,
Yeah.
in fact. To get a little deeper, it's also Time Life books. They also did Mysteries of the Unknown.
Okay.
And those are like the black books with the silver white writing and the very decrepit pictures on top usually. And those are just a wealth of knowledge. But I'm a bit of a collector of those series. I've been trying to complete my sets, but just can't get enough.
Yeah, those are cool. I can see a lot of the storybook influence in a lot of the songs on this album. Specifically, let me make sure I get the name of the songs right. I'm not the greatest at titles. I think it was Serious Business.
Oh, yep.
That one is like, I can see almost a movie in my head as that's like playing out. It's very cinematic. At first I thought theatrical, but then I was like, no, this is like a movie. This could be a song in a musical film.
Yep, you're picking up a lot of what we've kind of put together as Dan and I come from the musical theater background. In
Awesome.
fact, I'm trying to give a little bit of history there.
I'd love to hear more about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is your earliest memory of me?
My earliest memory of you is as before we met, you were just a random kid that had an acoustic guitar with you at all times.
That's fair.
And I was like, oh my god, this guy. But my old band was looking for a drummer at the time, and this kid who I kind of was playing with at the time was like, hey, this guy plays drums, and it happened to be Charles. It was Joe. No, it's different Joe.
Different Joe.
Way different Joe. So we went to his house after theater practice one night because I think his mom was directing the show I was in at the time.
Arsenic and Old Lace?
No, that was well after.
Oh.
This was during It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh. Yeah,
we were in It's a Wonderful Life together.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are both awesome plays, movies, with stories. I love them.
Well, my claim to fame in that one was that it was a stage show, but it was a radio play.
The radio edition.
So we were reading the script on stage.
We just sat there. It was so
ridiculous. Like every time you'd have a line, you'd stand up, of course. But I think my favorite memory was the Sunday matinee performance. Obviously you're getting up pretty early for those, and you'd been out real late the night before. But it was like a really cold, because it's winter, right?
Yeah, it was the Christmas edition.
They were pumping the place with heat. So I'm sitting on stage under the stage lights, and I hardly probably got any sleep. I fell asleep.
Oh my god.
On stage. And I woke up during my line, but I was playing Mr. Welsh, and if you're familiar with the show, the movie, he's the character that is drunk at the bar, so I kind of pulled that into the performance of it. I woken from my stupor, and I delivered my lines, but somebody had to step on my foot.
It's very professional.
Yeah, no.
Method acting.
Really was.
So that was when you guys were in high school, or was that college?
Different high schools.
Yeah,
but,
we're quite a few years apart, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had just graduated, I think.
Yeah, that was my first, or it was might have been the one, I don't remember exactly how this all went, but I had done a couple high school plays, and then that was the one in between. And I was like, maybe I like this being on stage thing. So there's a little bit of that element.
Yeah, I mean, if you can handle falling asleep on stage and then
Yeah.
coming back from that, you probably are can handle anything on stage.
Yeah, and we get to experience that all the time with various issues that come up. Specifically, what were we talking about? Oh yes, the song. serious business.
Mm-hmm.
So it does, yes, very much invoke the theater production, the cinematic approach is what we're definitely going for. I also draw a lot of inspiration from my time in the death care industry, and I'd actually worked at a cemetery for a period of time, and kind of getting, I guess it's probably my most political song to date, in that really discouraged with how that whole field the industry is handled, I suppose, and how they really prey on emotions. And if you've ever experienced a death in a very unfortunate time, it's just a traumatic experience no matter if you're prepared or you're not. And the sort of predatory practices within the industry is really what gave me a very distaste for a lot of that. And obviously informed the performance on the track, being a little bit more of a tongue-in-cheek, I guess, dissertation on my experiences.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. That's something that, I mean, people don't like to talk about death and more specifically like dealing with, other people's deaths. So that's something that you don't really hear about. That's not discussed really in general. And then, the fact that there's these predatory things happening, it's probably not something that people even think about or know they're going through at the time.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, and one of the pillars, I think, of a lot of inspiration behind this music is being death positive. Big fans of the death positive music movement. And we feel that it's important to talk about these very dreary and sometimes scary subjects, and making it a little more, well, really not necessarily poking fun at it, but at least making it normal enough that people can have these conversations and not think of it as a boogeyman so much as just the inevitability of life, and we all go through these things. And it's important to talk about it and have it a healthy experience and relationship with the darker themes.
And I can see that all throughout the album, and even in your previous things I've listened to. There is a lot of like very melodic things going on. A lot of it's upbeat, but you are singing about more like spooky things. So it's not a juxtaposition, it fits together. So I can totally see that attitude coming through.
Thank you.
And also a thing I want to point out, and for anyone else who hasn't heard the Picassos, this is something that I've noticed. You guys seem to kind of are not afraid to experiment different types of genres, go into different genres of rock and pop and things like that. But throughout every song, even if one song's more emo to me or more punk, it's the same vibe, and you can tell it's the same band. And I think that's like a really like great strength of yours as a band, to be able to go all those different ways, have some different sounds, but it's still the same vibe, if that makes any sense.
That's huge. Yeah.
I think that was a concern when we tackled this album.
Yeah.
Was it was such a varying, wide range of sounds. We're like,
Yeah.
Can we pull this off? Is this something we can do? And the fact that it flows so well.
It really does.
It's great to see.
Yeah.
I think we're obviously very, very happy with how it did turn out.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorite parts about this band is just the wild different things we get to do.
So that kind of brings me to something else I wanted to ask you guys, and it kind of draws back to Vincent Price. What are some of your like inspirations other than you were saying your real life experiences working in the death care industry? What are some other like, I guess, pop culture type of things that you put into the music and that you guys find inspiring?
Well, this may come as a surprise, but I'm a big fan of horror movies.
Oh, I could never see that coming.
There's a lot of that influence, I guess, all over the place, and I think that's part of it, of the visceralness. There's the comedy, there's the tragedy, there's the horror, of just some great stuff like Evil Dead or Chuck's the classic Universal monster films is what I grew up on. So that's obviously places that I go back to, the black and white photography, and that the whole grayscale imagery, and just this mythic quality to those things is something that I'm always going to want to emulate in anything that I do, I think. But yeah, movies in general are a huge inspiration, especially for my lyrical content. You'll find quotes, you'll find references to things for the eagle-eared, the bat-eared listener. That's right. We came up with a new idiom today, I guess. So the deeper you dive, the more you're going to realize that obviously you know in Sixth Sense, like, it's pretty on the nose. We know where that came from. Bruce Willis. It's about Bruce Willis. But yeah, so huge inspiration there. Comic books, of course. Just kind of everything's obviously veiled in metaphor. So there's a lot of personal experiences that I've now taken into a little more dramatic roles of the horror and the experiences of life, and putting it through a glass of cinematic approach, I guess.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, kind of going back a little bit to what we were talking about when you guys met. Is that when the Picassos started off, or did it have some incarnations? Did you guys do another band first? How did that happen?
There were a few other bands.
Quite a few.
Yeah, there were a few other bands. I had kind of gone through a couple different bands, a couple different drummers. Not everything always fell into place at first. I eventually kind of realized I could do things on my own a little bit, so I did some solo outings, and I kind of wrote down the name the Picassos as, like, it occurred to me, pulling from the artistic standpoint, and obviously being a bit of a visual artist in my upbringing. That was a lot of where I wanted to kind of start from. And then kind of was a solo artist for a bit, maybe longer than I should have. And I developed a suitcase, which we still use to this day, as a foot percussion and a tambourine, and that was kind of my iteration that I would play out as up until I found a couple other members here and there. And probably we weren't officially this lineup or the Picassos, I would say, as you currently would know us, until Torin joined the fold. And I guess feel free to explain your significance in there.
When did you join Torin?
Pretty much exactly 5 years ago. Our first gig together was like mid-June of 2018. So Charles and I met. We met at a show that basically Charles had gotten the first like full band arrangement of the Picassos together, and the first one that had materialized in a couple of years.
And it was probably the first show we had ever done, and the only one we ever did is that iteration. Just a keyboardist and a drummer at the time.
Yeah, and I was there playing with a different band that broke up shortly thereafter. And so right around the time that my other band broke up, the keyboardist in that iteration of the Picassos, and we had become friends on Facebook, and they posted shared a post from the Picassos page, like, hey, we're looking for a drummer. And I'm like, hey, I'm a drummer. And so they got me in touch with Charles, and we chatted it out and started playing together.
History was made.
Yeah.
Truly. And we haven't looked back. And when you say 5 years, it simultaneously blows my mind. But I like to think we're living in dog years now with the pandemic.
Well, you had
It's very true.
That was 10 years ago.
But
yeah, 5 years feels like 2 years still.
yeah, we're just gonna go with 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many albums do you guys have out right now?
Technically one.
Just this one.
We
Did you have
have-
an EP, or would you just have like singles out?
Couple EPs.
Yeah, we had the
Okay.
EP and Other Scary Stories, which was our kind of first official release.
Yes.
Prior to some singles that we had released and then re-released, remastered for the Exhumed compilation, which is kind of our everything we had done up to that point
Uh-huh.
in kind of a neat little package that we put together. Remasters and a couple reimaginings of those same tracks. And then this, Divination Scars, is our, for now, the magnum opus of the full-length record.
Mm-hmm. So this is your first full length, okay. All right, will you guys do for these songs like some videos? You guys had some other, those like kind of vignette type videos. They were like moody, just a little like mood thing. I loved those.
Yeah.
Did you do those yourself?
Yep, everything is primarily in-house. We have done like lyric videos for a couple of the tracks so far, but we are working on some more fully fledged music videos because obviously an opportunity to stretch our cinematic legs a little bit
Yeah.
more.
So many of those songs on this new album, I can see it could lend itself to so many cool visuals and music video stuff. So that'll be exciting to see. And I am dying to like have all the lyrics for all those songs. So if you do more lyric videos, I'd be happy about that. Or if you do a lyric book. Or
You will see them in the CDs, in fact. So.
And you can find all the lyrics on our website,
Oh, cool.
thepicassoseance.com.
Awesome. I will put that in the description on the video along with your YouTube channel. So when you guys can go and look at the lyrics when you're listening along. I love to do that. I'm sure everyone does. I'm sorry?
Oh yes, no, I spent so many years panning through lyric booklets and learning as every line as it goes. So
Oh yeah.
the opportunity to finally make some ourselves was just a huge and felt so accomplished.
Yeah, you should be proud of your words, and show them off.
So many words.
I used to sit when I was in my bedroom in hell as a little demon child and stop, listen, I'd have a tape back in those days, reel-to-reel tape. I would play it and then I'd stop it and I'd write down the words that they said, and then I would be go a little further and write it down, and then I'd be like, wait, what did he say? Because I wouldn't be able to understand someone like Jim Morrison, what the hell is he saying,
Creating your own lyric books?
Yeah. Because they, older bands don't really do that. Well, even some of the modern ones at the time. But, yeah, I'd love to have that lyric book. That's gold. Good on you guys for doing that.
Keep traditions alive.
Yeah.
Best we can.
So, some other things you got going on in the album is you have some featured, duets, vocalists on there.
We do.
2 songs with Gerard Delore,
Mhm.
who is from the band, remind me.
Second Salem.
Second Salem. I knew
Yes,
Salem was in
yeah.
there. And I had discovered them through listening
Excellent. Yeah.
to your guys' album, and and your post, and you had tagged, I believe, him, and I got to the band and checked them out, and they're really cool.
Yeah, they're incredible. We've kind of come up together the last couple of years, so it's nice to. It was just an excellent opportunity because we'd always had that. Oh, of course we should collab.
Mhm.
And then when the opportunity finally presented itself, originally we had just set him up to do the one track, Leather Wings, because it's about vampires, and we definitely connect on vampires.
Yeah.
He's a vampire.
Oh, yeah.
So good to keep one around. So when the day came and we finally were able to cut the track, I kind of felt like the grandmother who wants to give some extra coins or some cookies to take.
The Italian in you.
Yeah, that must be it. And I was like, well, we only did one track today, and then we realized it's there's an opportunity here for a second track. So we got the bonus in
cool.
Dollar Hide. So he also lends his voice to that as well.
So did you guys already had Dollar Hide written in, and then he just popped on to kick up some value or some vocals on that?
Some very well placed screams,
Yeah.
which I've just never been able to accomplish on my own. So really, I think solidifies the hard rock kind of I would say metal-ish
Yeah.
influence of that track.
I think that song is probably the most metal song on the album, like hard rock. That song
For
is
real.
is a banger.
It
And
almost
then
didn't make the album.
what was it?
It almost didn't make the album.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was,
A
we
later-
were done,
yeah, later
and Charles was
edition.
like, one more. And we're like, no. We're
I,
done. This is enough. This is,
I was not having it because I'm the one that basically keeps the band on schedule,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I was the one like basically managing all the recording sessions, and so we had our deadline that okay, we need basic tracks for all the songs done by this date, and I think we had to redo one song anyways. Like we had all the songs done by that date, but then one of them I was like, I'm not happy with this take. We need to redo it. So we had to redo that anyways. And so then around that same time, Charles was like, okay, how about we add Dollar Hide too? And I'm like, are you serious right now, dude? And he was like, yes. I'm like, okay, sure, fine, let's do it. And we did, and it's on the album, and I'm happy we did.
yeah, it needed
But
to be
at
on
the-
the album. so-
At that time, I wasn't happy that we did because I was stressed out about it. But in the end, I think it worked well.
Yeah. I'm happy the song's on there. It's a good one. They're all good, but it's such a good cohesive like piece that it's hard to imagine that one wouldn't be on there. So good thing that it was.
All the different flavors that we were trying to encapsulate.
Yeah, totally. And then your other featured performer is Sarah Rose.
Yes.
And is she a solo performer, or is she in a band too?
She does have a solo project, the
Yeah.
Sarah Rose Project. But we know her best from Sarah and the Safe Word from
That's
Atlanta,
right.
Georgia, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
So we had met them about the same time we met Second Salem.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think at the very same
Was it
show,
the
yeah.
same
Yeah,
show?
it was.
It was a very auspicious occasion, I guess.
The old Phoenix
Back at
5
that
time.
show.
So all three of you guys played the same show, Sarah and the Safe Word,
Uh-huh.
the Second Salem and the Picassos.
Yep.
Cool show.
Yeah. We obviously connected musically
Yeah.
with those bands, and obviously Sarah Safe Word just blew us away with their just a incredible powerhouse of a band with violin players. I think at the time they had sax players live, but they're from, did I say Georgia?
Yeah, Atlanta,
Yeah.
Georgia.
And we connected with that, and that was another occasion that we were like, well, when we get the right track, we just need to have some collaborative efforts there. So we did it remotely, the session, and Sarah sent us a track, and we were just like, that's it, perfect. So we, of course, had that in our cap, so to speak.
Very cool. Very cool to see that you guys had like some extra people coming in and putting in their flavors, and I think that adds to all the different sounds that you get on that album. So with still being very much the Picassos, like cohesive. Okay. Oh, that was Weird Sisters is the one that she does. She is on. That's my second Vampa's pick from that album. My second favorite song from that one. Very cool song.
Oh, it's a favorite.
Yeah. Is that a favorite of your guys? Like
That's mine.
Yeah, I think it's one of the top songs on the album. What's really funny too is Charles and I have been doing this so long that bass line is very old to me. And so are just a few of these songs, like I remember the original playing them, and so to hear them fulfilled like this has been a real treat as well. But Weird Sisters is, I think, within the top two, period.
So these songs essentially are songs that you guys have been kind of kicking around and working on for kind of your entire career as the Picassos, and finally have recorded.
Some newer, some older. That an example of a track that I had kind of put together a long time ago, and always had. Really, what you hear was my vision for it, but at the time I was like, no way we can pull this off. There's no way, until it finally did. And some of the Fet ones were in fact a lot newer, written just, I think the most recent was probably Serious Business, actually, within the last year of that recording. But yeah, this is kind of the final vision of all of those things coming together. So we're glad to make this. But I do feel that they all do create a cohesive piece and story, even though they were all kind of written in different time periods.
Yeah, I would agree with you. That's why I was kind of surprised to hear him say that. But I guess when, they become, and I don't write music, but, I write film scripts, and there are couple of my movies out of my 3 shorts. I wrote originally almost 20 years ago, maybe even longer, and I look back at what that originally was, and it's the same, but I don't know, something about doing it now, in this time of my life, with the people who I was connected with at that time, it does make it its own thing. So I think it's like the spirit of like now,
It makes it timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we could have pulled off all of these tracks any other time than we did with the 4 people that we ended up in, and plus other friends that we ended up pooling together to create this record.
So now you're kind of in your, I guess, celebratory phase of getting that record out, and you're playing shows. What kind of shows you got coming up?
Yes. We've got some stuff worked out. I believe in August, a couple more local dates, some of which we're not at liberty to speak about just yet. But beyond that, we are looking to kind of take the show on the road and get out of the state, as it were, and get the seances to the people. So we are working on some vaguely fall dates, sooner or beyond, to get the name out there and the record in more ears.
Very cool. Will that be your first time playing outside of the state?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
haven't even been
that'll
to
be-
Toledo yet.
Yeah. So I can only imagine we're gonna do the best we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Exciting. Do you have a seance in the area planned already?
I think the closest thing we have, and I'm not sure when this is to air.
We'll probably air it in about a week.
Then June 30th will be the next one.
Okay.
We're in
Well, that's
Saginaw.
in Saginaw.
And Saginaw.
The closest one to this locale, I guess we're in hell, so we're kind of everywhere, aren't we?
We're right below, like directly below the Hazel Park, Ferndale area. So if you just go straight up, that's where you'll be.
Just follow the sulfur.
Yeah.
East Point is one, and then we have a couple Detroit dates, so keep your eyes on our media for those announcements to come.
Awesome. Yeah, I have not seen you guys live yet. It's just every time it's something, it's just one of those things. But I'm gonna try to make it out to see you guys live.
The traffic in hell.
Yeah, it's hard to get out of hell. That's why I like people to come to me.
Sure.
It's a little easier to get in than it is to get out. You guys will find that out when you try to leave. Sorry about
I
that.
watched Sandman. I think.
It wouldn't be hell if it had public transit.
That's very true. Very true. Or sometimes I guess public transit can be hell itself too, depending. Depending on what your crimes were on Earth. So you guys are kind of in a celebratory mode. You just finished the album and, you just feel really proud of yourselves. I'm sure you do. Are you playing shows to back it up?
We are. We had just done our release show, obviously, and so now we are looking to. I'm sorry, my brain.
Our next one is at the end of the month here on the 30th up in Saginaw at the Hamilton Street Pub. Is that right?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
That's cool.
And then August 4th, we'll be in Corktown, and on the 5th, we'll be in East Point.
Blacklist Provisions, which is a new shop that just cropped up, so we were excited to experience that as a venue.
Is that on 9 Mile and Gratiot where Plumpet used to be?
It is. Yes, it is in fact the same location.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know they were going to do shows there.
Yeah, that's something that they are now doing, which is great.
Wow, that's
Close
really
to
cool.
home, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check out it. I mean, at least that one, but I'll try to go to as many of them I can. I probably won't go to Saginaw though, guys. Sorry.
That's fair.
I barely know.
Understand.
And so I hear that you also want to take the show out of the state, so you'll be trying to do that too.
Indeed, yeah. We are looking at some out-of-state dates to bring the seance to the people. So keep your eyes on our media for those upcoming fall-ish dates.
Awesome. And you guys have never played out of state before. This will be first time.
Yeah.
Cool. Showing
Crazy
those
as it is, yeah.
showing those non-Detroiters what it's like.
How scary we can be.
Yeah. Showing what it's like in Michigan, Southeast Michigan.
We try to represent.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming down to Hell and hanging out with me. It's always a pleasure to have people come to me because it's really hard to leave Hell, and you guys will see that when you're on your way out. But good luck. I think you guys will be able to get past the, I don't know what to call them.
The golems out there?
Yeah, they're like the border golems. It's a little more. It's kind of like when you're like trying to get back into the U.S. from Canada, but
They all speak in riddles
yeah,
to pay the toll.
yeah,
Border golems.
border
Yeah,
golems.
Border golems, not the dog.
Border galleys.
That's it.
Well, thanks,
Excellent.
guys.
Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you so much. This was a hellish experience.
That's what I aim for. See you guys next time.